ever wondered what the requirements are to get a fairy in Fairly Odd Parents? Well, stay tuned because I've got a guest here to talk about it with us today. You have McGann, the Fangirl. Make sure you subscribe and check back every week for new fandom videos. Hey everybody, you have McGann the Fangirl.
And how's it going, everyone? My name's AdaraTheShallot.
And we're here to bring you a collaboration video.
So the video we are bringing you today is a theory on the beloved TV show The Fairly Odd Parents by Nickelodeon.
If you totally missed this series, it's about a kid named Timmy who is given a pair of fairy godparents, Cosmo and Wanda, that follow him around 24/7 and grant his every wish. Of course, most of the wishes backfire, or come with some type of life lesson, but it boils down to a little boy having phenomenal cosmic powers at his disposal, even if his wishes often get erased by the end of the episode.
So as a kid, I really used to love the show. I thought it was a really good series, up until Poof showed up and kind of ruined everything.
Now me, I don't mind Poof so much. A baby fairy brought some new elements into a show that was very formulaic and getting way too stale for my tastes. Plus, when fans keep demanding more episodes, you have to try something new eventually. But I will say I never watched this series for me. I only watched it with my kids, so I was never invested in the series the same way that other people were.
Well, one episode, or should I say, series of episodes that really struck in my memory was Fairy Idol, the fourth TV movie of the Fairly Odd Parents. It was an episode where I saw the life of one of Timmy's best friends, Chester, and his former life. He has terrible living conditions since he lives in a trailer park and has no mother. He eventually got the genie Norm as his fairy godparent in the show, but that made me wonder, why was Chester never qualified to have fairy godparents before? The conditions for you to have a fairy is to be a miserable child in need of help, but why does Chester not fall into this category?
And that is an excellent point, because Chester is a long-term recurring character, and he's been worse off than Timmy since the beginning. So even if there's a wait list to getting a fairy, how is it possible for Timmy to outrank other kids on that list when he doesn't have it so bad? Timmy has two parents, and even though they're often neglectful, Timmy has a nice home, he has food in the fridge, he has a safe place to be. A lot of his problems come from a lack of attention, which would be largely fixed by forming stronger relationships with his friends. You don't need the powers of Cosmo and Wanda to get attention, yet the kids who are really hurting, like Chester, don't seem to have fairies during the bulk of the show. We don't see that.
We don't. And we have examples of this problem with another character, Tootie, Vicky's little sister. Timmy has to deal with Vicky every time she babysits him, and that causes him to be miserable. But Tootie has to deal with Vicky all the time, being her little sister. So that should mean she gets at least twice the mistreatment of misery.
Now, Tootie most likely gets the brunt of Vicky's nastiness, so it would be almost all day, everyday misery, or Tootie could be getting a positive credit if her parents ever acted as a shield for her. To throw the mom perspective out there, if I'm not watching the argument between my kids break out, my instinct is to yell at the oldest kid in the fight and toss out the gem, "You're older, so you know better!" which forces my oldest to act differently when I'm around. So, even though we know Vicky's parents are terrified of her now, that probably happened when Vicky became a teenager, so Tootie was protected under that mom shield for a while, which may have played a factor when the fairies judged how bad Tootie has it. But as far as when the show is happening, unless Tootie's parents treat her like a princess at home, she should be worse off than Timmy by a lot. Timmy only has to see Vicky sometimes as a babysitter. Tootie has to live with this girl.
Right. And there are so many other people that should qualify for fairies, but don't seem to get them. There are kids who are homeless, orphans, starving, and overall living in bad conditions all over the world. There are millions of kids suffering and even dying, but no fairies come to their aid. So why does this happen? I think the answer is there if we start to question the conditions of having fairies. Maybe the requirements aren't as simple and black and white as it seems at first.
Yeah, that's true. There's no direct reason given why Timmy is such a high priority case for the fairies.
I thought about it a lot, but only was able to come to one conclusion. Fairies are creatures in hiding and have to remain a secret from the world, as it is part of the rules. So if fairies were assigned to children truly in need and the world itself began to change, the fairies would become too obvious, and the humans might eventually find out about their existence, maybe even rule over them. Humans don't particularly need fairies, but fairies do need to grant wishes to live, otherwise they explode from the overwhelming amount of unused magic they have. Too much magic used, however, can cause them to burn out, so in order to keep the balance in the world, the yin and yang if you will, they must choose children who are miserable, but not to extreme conditions. I hate saying it, but it seems more like first world problem situation.
That's an interesting point, and it certainly seems to connect with a lot of what we see in the series. I could definitely see that as a reason for Chester not being selected, because he's gonna wish for money and a family, and things that will be very noticeable changes over things that won't stick around long term. But that idea also comes with some problems. Essentially, Tootie and Timmy are in the same boat, but as far as we know, Tootie is in a worse position than Timmy, so we have to keep picking apart how the fairies make their decisions here.
I did go deeper down the rabbit hole and came with some really dark thoughts. What if the fairies were sent to children who were dangerous to society?
You mean like the serial killer types?
Yes. What if they could know by magic that if these children didn't have fairies to make their lives less stressful, they would grow up to being serial killers or evil dictators? I mean, think about it. Compare the characters of Tootie and Chester to Timmy. Even though Chester doesn't have much, he's still a happy boy with whatever little he has. When he had Norm, instead of wishing for things for himself, he wished for things such as world peace. Now compare this to Timmy. He's selfish and egocentric, also extremely manipulative and power hungry. All the wishes he makes are for himself out of some selfishness. They all go terribly wrong, and he learns a lesson in the end of every episode, but we don't really see him grow as a person.
Oh wow, yeah, you are absolutely onto something there. The show stays in such a formulaic corner that Timmy never learns how to think out his wishes or show any type of impulse control. We get no sign that his memory gets erased after each episode, so it's bizarre for the average kid not to show some kind of small growth after learning a lesson. I mean, hey, Phineas and Ferb was formulaic too, but they were good-natured kids who never really got told not to build their weird contraptions, and they weren't really hurting anyone. But Timmy, he hurts other people, even himself, and no matter what he sees, he's never fazed to actually try to change. And when we look at something like the Fairly Odd movie, Grow Up, Timmy Turner, it becomes really apparent that something is just not right with Timmy's logic. If you missed the movie, it's live action, and Timmy is 23 years old, but refusing to leave the 5th grade because if he grows up at all, he'll lose his fairies. Guys, even for a made-for-TV kids movie, that's not a healthy depiction of an adult. Now granted, Timmy is very attached to Cosmo and Wanda, and he feels like they're his real family, but he's putting this impulsive need to have fairies like a security blanket above everything, even himself. Getting older doesn't mean you have to grow up, but eventually you need to take some pride in your life, be done with school, and move on to doing what you really want to do with yourself. Is Timmy even considering the fact that clinging to Cosmo and Wanda prevents another child from being helped? I don't think so, because all of Timmy's actions are always self-serving, and surely the fairy government would see through this act and make Cosmo and Wanda leave, right?
They really should be able to, but that also makes the case that the fairies know more than we do, since Timmy can't or won't grow as a person and is very egocentric. Taking Cosmo and Wanda away might be a serious problem. If the fairies were sent to Timmy to keep him from snapping, taking them away might also push Timmy over the edge. And if Timmy is vindictive, he might even tell the whole world that fairies exist and how to track them down.
So really, it's in the fairies' best interest to essentially sacrifice Cosmo and Wanda's jobs so that Timmy Turner never hits that breaking point. If that means Timmy gets stunted and remains a 5th grader forever, it's all for the greater good. Wow. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching today, and a special thank you to my co-host, Adara.
Thank you, Megan. It's been my pleasure. Please check out my channel, link in the description. I make all kinds of videos of pop culture, including reviews and theories on movies, TV shows, games, and anime. I hope to see you there.
Well then, it might not be reality, but theories are more dark. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have 2 other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.